Hey, you guys, Suzanne Tickmeyer with my huge pile of hair on my head today. I am dressed for going out to the grocery store. We've got some errands we have to run this morning. We're going to go out and run them. Can I just say I hate sports bras? Somebody told me to try one. I have one on. It's making me feel like I got a uniboob, but it's not comfortable. So there's that. I am, if you don't know me, I'm Suzanne Tickmeyer. I used to write. I used to write for Pathos. People are PMing me all the time. I'm trying to get, hey, Bliss. I used to write for Pathos for almost 10 years about the Quiverfull movement and about religion in general, fundamentalist religions. So we've been watching this Amy Duggar situation going on all week and saying, this is really strange. What happened? The road so far, as Emily Debacle likes to put it. Amy Duggar King made this video that she said was about redneck women, but she used the term redneck Barbie, which is also a name that Backwoods Barbie used to record music under. She actually sounded with her over-the-top Southern accent and the words she was saying a lot like Backwoods Barbie. Thank you, Tamara. So anyway, she later said, no, that was not her intent. She called up Backwoods Barbie. They had a long conversation. She apologized. And this was after somebody we know without a box of Kleenex was saying that it was definitely about Backwoods Barbie and she was just chortling and all that. So then, like I said, Amy apologized. She posted a video publicly apologizing. And apparently people got pretty mad and they were spamming her and, I don't know, saying things about her business, different things. And the next thing you know, she's apologizing again. She's posting that nobody is coming to stay with her during the trial. She asked nobody to come be her bodyguard or anything like that. And without a box of Kleenex, posts a meme about being thrown under the bus. And she takes it immediately down. Amy posted a second apology. It just gets weirder from there. Last night, Amy unfollowed without a box of Kleenex. So that's where we are. That's exactly where we are. Well, a friend of mine pointed something out to me this morning, and I want to talk about that. Is it possible that the apologies and everything went down not because of Without a Box of Kleenex's fans or anti-fans harassing Amy, but because of Jim Bob Duggar? I mean, hear me out. Jim Bob Duggar is running for state senate. He's running to be a state senator. He's been one in the past. He's run several times and he can't ever seem to get elected again. He's running. He's running right now in the middle of his son's trial for CP. There's so much about that I don't like, but if you look at it, Jim Bob Duggar has never made any bones about the fact that he thinks he should be high levels of government. He thinks that he's educated enough to do that with his high school diploma and that he should be way up there. I suspect he harbors rather grand expectations. Why? Because when I was part of the whole Quiverfull movement, that was one of the things that was preached, that we were to be high ground takers. We were to take things from Senate positions to the White House to the top of Hollywood, all these different, just very weird things they were coming up with. They called us high ground takers because we were Christians. We were the right kind of Christians. So I think that's some of what's going on here. The other thing is that the Jim Bob Duggar I know is rather litigious. He Has no problem filing lawsuits against people. He has no problem sending threatening letters. When I wrote for Pathos, I was the recipient of a few of those over photographs I use. So from that moment on, I used the photographs I myself had taken of the Duggars at a book signing. I did not want to bring the legal wrath of Jim. At one time, Amy gave a live stream interview without a box of Kleenex, and Jim Bob Duggar was pressuring her to take it down immediately, threatening her with some NDA she had supposedly signed. I don't know for sure, but supposedly that's the story. And without a box of Kleenex, did the right thing for once and pulled down the video. Well, here he is running for state senate again. A is a distraction for what's going on with Josh, so nobody will pay attention to that. They'll be going, "Oh my gosh, he's running for Senate, state senate! Oh my gosh!" And a lot of his fans are saying and doing those things. I don't get it. I'm not a fan, but that's because I've seen how they make the sausage, just to put it mildly. And without a box of Kleenex, I did a live stream this last week that was laden with profanities on it was posted on Instagram and then quickly taken down. Renelle, she has it up on her website. I mean, on her YouTube. And it's quite revealing, but it's quite wrong. A lot of the things that she was alleging are just her jumping from thing to thing to thing without evidence. She did stop following her on Instagram, but only on Instagram. I'm sure KJ is love bombing her in DMs. Hopefully Amy finally sees through her now. I'm sure she is love bombing her. And hopefully Amy is ignoring that. Because like I said, I'm pretty sure that whatever happened, that now Jim Bob Duggar has probably stirred the pot. I wouldn't doubt that he said, "Amy, I'm running for office. This can't be. You can't be feuding. You can't be saying all the stuff about other YouTubers. You can't be doing this stuff." And he probably came down hard on her like a ton of bricks. What I do know about Jim Bob Duggar is he insists on the family reputation be scrubbed spotless, even if it isn't so spotless. That's just how he runs things. I've always said he's something like a mob boss because of how the tight control he holds over his family's reputation and their entire lives. He's a mob boss in his own weird way. I did too, Bliss. And I last night I was watching it and I took a ton of notes. I was going to actually do a video debunking it point by point by point by point. And it really started to get to me on a lot of levels. I took a ton of notes. I taped it like 17 or 18 times because I was just going to upload it. So I had videoed myself saying all this stuff. Finally, I realized, I said, wait a minute. The only people that are going to believe that are her fans. Her fans are not going to believe anything coming out of my mouth, even though I've been involved with this community for almost 30 years now. So it would just be a waste of time and effort to do a video debunking the whole thing. Their reputation's officially effed, and there's no going back this time. Yes, but here's the thing. Jim Bob Duggar has run his family like a mob boss. So he's thinking that this is still going to work, even though it doesn't. Last night, while all this was going on, I was watching this. All I could think about was the book of Ecclesiastes. There's a scripture there that when these things happen, I think about it a lot. It's 1:9. And it's just the last little bit that when I see that, I think, oh, yeah. And there is nothing new under the sun. That fits all of this. This is not new. This is the wages of Quiverfull and some of the things that have happened. They just happen to climb on top of the publicity heap. And it's been a hard fall from grace. I think that he's running not just to try to run for higher office. I think that Jim Bob is also running specifically because the money's not coming in now. The show has stopped. I think what's going on, and I could be wrong, at the Duggar household is that they are now cash poor and asset rich. Which, most people, when that happens, what they do is they realize they have to shift some things from assets to cash, whether you like it or not. You got to do it. God knows I had to do that when we moved here, just to be able to afford the shipping on everything. Oh my gosh, so expensive. But instead of doing like most of us would do, he did the Quiverfull stupid thing and decided, well, I just need a new cash stream. So if he is with the state senate, he makes a good salary. He has access to all that lovely, 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 lovely lobbying money, influencers money. He gets access to that. And he doesn't have to worry about health insurance for the family. He's got a good salary, even though it's only for a 2-year term. But like I said, I think he has ambitions. I've always felt like he has ambitions to maybe be a U.S. senator or congressman, and who knows from there. So that's where I think his mind is right now. So I think that he's going to come down hard on anybody putting the bank string on his family. And like I said, I would not be surprised if we don't see a lawsuit after Josh coming down on without a box of Kleenex from him. I think he's in the picture. He's a greater influencer, most definitely always grateful. He just is. He's there, lurking in the background. So my second thing I really wanted to talk about today was I wanted to talk about women in Quiverfull not getting the proper medical treatment. We're watching right now Zsuzsanna Anderson. Let me go back and read you her entire prayer request. It's a really good illustration that women in this group just don't have any kind of access to healthcare at all. Now, Zsuzsanna is a little bit interesting to me because she has gotten real health care after saying how horrible it is again and again and again. She got real health care when she was pregnant with her twins, and there was twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. I think that's what it's called. She went and saw a neonatal specialist, a man even at that, and got the proper treatment. Not everybody in Quiverfull would even go that far. A lot of people would have just lost both those babies because they don't believe in going to the doctor. And there are high numbers of Quiverfull births that just go horribly wrong because they won't go to the doctor and or the hospital to have the baby. Not saying everybody has to go, but if you're high risk, you definitely need to at least consider it. So anyway, Zsuzsanna posted this morning, 4 hours ago, and it really sums it up a lot for a lot of the women in the Quiverfull. Prayer request. On Friday evening, my husband returned from a trip out of state with symptoms of food poisoning. I took care of him as best I could, which wasn't much due to my continued severe morning sickness. Yes, Zsuzsanna is pregnant again. Yes, that's part of it, Bliss. The other part is if you're a woman, you're not allowed to spend that kind of money on yourself. It has to do with money a lot. And Zsuzsanna has had terrible, terrible morning sickness in most of her pregnancies. I have too, so I get that. And her last pregnancy, I think it was, she said she'd come up with this set of supplements and things from this company, to stop her morning sickness. Well, clearly that's not working now. So she's having terrible morning sickness. Let me go back. Yesterday evening, Sunday, I became violently ill myself. This must be some super contagious bug, likely salmonella or norovirus. I've had norovirus. It's not pleasant. After already being borderline dehydrated for weeks due to the morning sickness, I lost an alarming amount of fluids in the matter of 2 hours last night. I called an in-home IV medic who gave me 1 liter of fluids plus nausea meds. That worked, but had worn off by midnight, and I've been in agony ever since. I'm waiting for them to come back this morning. I am unable to keep down anything while continuing to lose incredible amounts of fluid. My husband was not as sick as I, but was still very ill himself. I am kind of, hey, Kentucky girl, I'm kind of jaw dropped by this. First of all, I didn't even know, like I said, I live here in Costa Rica. You can't do this here. You'd have to go into the clinic and get those IV fluids from a legitimate doctor. And I thought that's how it was in the States. I thought that a doctor had to be the one to order the IV. Now, it's not illegal to give somebody an IV in the States. You can do that without being a doctor, but I thought they had to order it at the very least. So there's people in the States that will go around and give you an IV in your home. I am just horrified, fascinated, shocked by that. And I'm horrified, fascinated, shocked by the fact she wouldn't go to the ER. That's ER territory there. When you get that sick, you really need to be seen by a doctor, even if he's just writing you a script for anti-nausea drugs and telling you to go home. I had to take Zofran my entire pregnancy, especially with my daughter, or else I would have been in the hospital my whole pregnancy. Bless, I hear you, girl. I had a pregnancy kind of like that I have teasingly told my husband, my son, that he should have had caffeine-free Coke across his head, because that was one of the few things I could keep down in the few hours that I actually wasn't throwing up during that pregnancy. I got super skinny. I got scary model skinny. I could have walked. I could have walked the catwalk and been gorgeous because I was so skinny afterwards. Please urgently pray that none of the kids get it. It's super contagious and so violent. I would be able to stop losing fluids and able to keep anything down. On top of the food poisoning symptoms, my morning sickness is off the charts from not having anything in my stomach. I will call my doctor first thing for a prescription of Zofran or whatever she suggests as soon as she opens. Even our dog seems to have caught it as she's been throwing up. I am so worried for the kids since it's so sudden and violent, and both of my husbands, as well as myself, are in such bad shape. They have no symptoms thus far and are taking activated charcoal. Thank you for your prayers. Well, at least she's calling her doctor. I am hoping that the doctor says, come on in, let me check you out, or go to the ER, because that would be really the responsible thing. If you're already borderline dehydrated and you got that going on, you really do need to go to the ER or go to urgent care. I know in the States they have all these urgent care clinics you could go to in the middle of the night if you had to. There's no excuse to allow yourself to get that sick. But again, Quiverfull and Zsuzsanna Anderson at least has a doctor. A lot of Quiverfull moms I know don't use any kind of health care whatsoever and would call that adultery. Hello, Carrie. I'm looking at you. What was Carrie's last name? Oh, the monkeys are crossing my front yard. Oh, that's cute. Carrie's Chmielewski. She was somebody we wrote about early on, like 11 years ago, and at no longer quivering. She had a super high-risk pregnancy. She started to give birth at home, of course, with a midwife that had a pile of dead babies. She went into cardiac arrest, and the EMS, they got there and they got her to the hospital, and they I don't know if they shocked her with the AED or what they did to her, but they managed to bring her back. The baby was born dead. Her midwife had been telling her that she was pregnant with twins, even though the medical personnel she had had ultrasounds from and stuff said, no, there's not twins, there's one. She was suffering from preeclampsia and didn't get treatment, and she almost died. Her baby did die, and she refused to accept that any of that was anything thing to do with medical. She said medical was an idolatry. She said that. She said it was an idolatry. I always regret the way we treated Carrie during all this and the things that were said and the people that no longer quivering got involved, because she did eventually leave Quiverfull and go out on her own, and it came out that the husband had been abusive to her, or so she claimed. I think she lost custody of her children. She ended up having to go to work. She ended up very different than the smiling, jumper-clad lady that she was when she was in Quiverfull. And I've always regretted that we're never able to reach out to her and get her any help. If I had known, I would have been more than happy to do that. She ended up dead a few years ago in a car wreck. And I think about her a lot. Think about how badly we failed her, that we could have reached out to her. We could have been kinder. Zoo, I'm telling you right now, if you ever want to leave Stephen and your lifestyle, please reach out. There are a ton of people that would be more than happy to help you out. I know that's not where I intended to go with this, but there it is. And I'm going to say that for any woman struggling in Quiverfull, if you have the desire to leave and no way to do it, please reach out. If not to me, reach out to somebody that actually works with an organization like RAIN or some of the other networks. Don't do it on your own. It's so hard when you have to do this on your own. And you're worth so much more than that. It is tragic. Prairie, that was one of the most tragic stories that come out of NLQ. There were doctors in Bible times, and yes, Luke was a doctor. Yeah, Prairie. So that was the story of Carrie Chmielewski and No Longer Quivering. It was before I joined, actually. So I think it was like 11 or 12 years ago. It was a pretty horrific thing. Everybody, she kept posting on her blog pictures and sonograms and talking about this. And we were all screaming, please go to the hospital. Please go to the doctor. Please, please, please. Because everybody could see that this was going to have a tragic outcome, that it wasn't twins. It was other stuff going on with her. And she refused medical treatment, and she went into cardiac arrest and had to be revived. They had to do a complete and total hysterectomy, which she was horrifically pissed off about once she came around. And the baby, Benaiah, I think that was what they named him, was stillborn as a result. And to me, that is the biggest tragedy of Quiverfull, is that women take these horrific positions and they double down on them when other people are saying, please, please don't do that. Okay, you guys, I gotta go. I gotta go buy groceries now after I've had this conversation, and I feel like crying now because every time I think about that story, I think about how badly we blew it. We could have reached out to her if I had any idea. Oh well, water under the bridge now. Hopefully some of us have learned our lessons, and we know that we have to be much more compassionate and kind than we used to be. Bliss, I've always wondered about that because she was so convinced. And this wasn't her first child. This was like 5 or 6 maybe. So this wasn't even her first child. She had other children. She was a homeschooling mama. She homeschooled and did a bunch of other things. I used to love to go to her blog to look at her sewing projects. She was on top of all the kind of, how do I put this? I don't want to say crunchy mama, but it's kind of crunchy mama. The things that you do if you're trying to live gently on this planet, where she was making like reusable wraps for her lunches to send out with her husband for his lunches, reusable diapers, all kinds of things like that. She had patterns and things that were just pretty amazing. And all that is now gone and taken down. She took her blog, Carry Me Away, down, and the world lost a whole lot of sewing, good ideas. Yeah, so that does show exactly how brainwashed they get in Quiverfull. And that's what's horrifying to me about Zoo is she has been through the worst of it and sought out medical care. Yet she's letting herself go through this over and over the course of a day and a half, maybe, without going to the ER, even though she knows she's dehydrated from the fact that she has terrible morning sickness. Many of us get that, and there are ways to deal with it. Zofran, like you said, that's the way. That is the way. So I'm going to go ahead and go now. I hope you have great days. I hope you know when you really need to call your doctor and say, hey, is this normal? I tend myself not to do that when I should. In fact, I laughed yesterday. I was watching one of Dr. Jordan Wagner's videos where he was looking at the show Jackass. He was going over the stunts and how injured and what could happen. And he went over one where they put bees in there, and he started telling you, use your EpiPen, get right to the hospital. And I snorted and giggled and put on and answered him back and said, dude, it takes a minimum of 2 EpiPens before I would even think about going to the hospital. Because if you have to use yours a lot, you get to the point where you're like, been here before, no hospital. So you guys have a great day.